What is going on, everybody? Today we are looking at the collaboration knife of Artisan Cutlery and Michal Gavko from Gavko Knives. This is the Great White. All Michal Gavko's knives are basically taken after and basically kind of resemble sharks and shark names. And so this is what his designs are, and this is one of his knives. This knife took me for over a month and a half to get this knife in particular, because the first one that was sent to me was lost in the mail. Thank you, USPS. So anyhow, this knife does have an issue, and we will get to that in a minute, but I will first want to say that the issue that this knife does have, which is a pretty major issue in most cases with knives, depending on how you want to look at it. Doesn't have anything to do with Michal Gavko or Gavko Knives, because, he obviously doesn't manufacture this knife. He just approves their copies of making this knife. These knives, Michal Gavko's knives, these ones in particular, the Great White and many others, were also made by Custom Knife Factory, and I think somebody else too. And I would love to get this particular knife from Custom Knife Factory. Custom Knife Factory right now is not doing too many knives right now. I think they're down because of coronavirus. So anyhow, this knife was also out through all your major knife reviewers. And I will say that, the knife that they got was all the same knife, and it was supplied through a pass around group that was supplied the knife directly from the manufacturer, even though none of them tell you that. Matter of fact, one of them even said that he had actually bought the knife himself, even though that this knife went out with another knife at the same exact time through the pass around group, and he had the same exact knife and color and everything else. So anyhow, not to rag on anybody, but, I'm not here to start controversy. The aspect is that these guys are doing a knife review of a knife that came straight directly from the manufacturer themselves. That was my problem, not the knife's problem. Yeah, so anyway, there's some debate. You can definitely debate on exactly how where you get your knives from. So anyway, let's move into a comparison of the Great White compared to the Cold Steel Code 4. Pretty much very much the same size. The Great White is overall length is just under 8.5 inches. The blade length is 3 3/4 inches. Closed length is a little over 4.5 inches. So yes, it's very much in the same aspect ratio of the Cold Steel. And here's the bailout. It's got a little bit of length even on the bailout, but very close to the same handle aspects. It's got a lot more blade than the bailout there, but anyhow. And let's throw in the PM2. Which again, pretty much close to the same size, even though the camera angle makes everything back there look a little bit smaller, but they are very much all pretty much in the same size aspect ratios of each other. The Great White does have a pretty thin, not very tall handle there compared to, like obviously the Cold Steel or the PM2. Definitely the same aspect ratio of, more like the bailout there. You can kind of see, a little bit. But anyhow, let's get some of these out of the way here. Doesn't even want to close today. All right, so anyhow, let's move right on along here. Let's just give a quick little measurement here, just to back up what I've said here. So you can see, just about 8.5 inches in length, about 3 3/4 blade cutting aspect, So anyhow, let's give it a good weigh in here, see where we're at with weight. just a little under 382 ounces, so just a little under 4 ounces. Yeah, so you're very close to the same weight as the PM2. PM2 is, what, 389? And yeah, PM2 actually outweighs it just a tad bit. Let's throw the cold steel on there. Yep, cold steel's got a little weight on both of them, but other than that, let's compare to the bailout. Bailout doesn't weigh much of anything. Nope, 2.5. Nope, all right, so anyhow, that's good there. So, you know, the knife overall, the design of the knife is very nice. Get my finger up the lock bar there. So anyway, when I did turn around and I opened this knife in the unboxing, I said that it had some side-to-side play. I thought it would, you know, would just need to be tightened up a little bit. And I said that, and it was kind of a little bit of a stretch of the actual truth. Because the truth is that I thought it might be the side to side at first, and then I'm like, well, you know what? That feels like up and down action. But then I was like, well, the lock bar stabilizer seems to be kind of sticky. And usually if the lock bar stabilizer is sticky, usually you have a pretty good lockup. Well, to further investigation, I found that that's not the case. The case is that it is up and down motion. You probably can't hear it on camera. Let's see. Yeah, I'm sure you can. It's ever so slight. It is definitely noticeable. It's broken in a little bit, and it hasn't gotten worse necessarily, but it is definitely an issue, and you can definitely feel it. And I noticed it a lot when I started my further review, because if I pull back on the blade, the actual lock bar stabilizer moves even easier out of the way. And that is a perfect example of not lock stick, but the blade play action that is actually at play with the knife. And you can even pull it back and just give a little push, and she'll actually tighten up and you won't have that play. So that seems to be the problem with the knife, is that just the lock bar is just not guiding itself in there. It doesn't seem to have maybe the right amount of spring action to push it that way to keep the lock steady and have it, you know, make a good firm lockup. The actual, you can see where it is slightly there of where it's landing. It actually was quite early when I first unboxed it, and it's broken in a little bit, and it's landing a little bit more. So it's a little more on the 25% mark, but it was a little early when I first unboxed the knife. So, you know, it's breaking in, but yet it's not, the lockup is not getting, it hasn't gotten any better. And like I said, it's quite noticeable. There is no side-to-side action. You know, maybe a tiny bit, but it's hard to tell because you can definitely feel the up and down. And you know, so anyway, you know, I was, you know, thinking about, you know, do I keep it? You know, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna let it roll out, and I'm gonna see how it actually plays over time. If the lock bar is not actually, you know, if the lock bar, if it's not getting its spring over, it eventually will get very bad, and, you know, probably, you know, even very easily slide out of spot. But, and, you know, I'm not really too concerned about it. I don't, you know, because I'm going to use this as an example. This will be kind of a little bit of an example knife, so to speak. I mean, I've got too much time already wrapped up in this knife to turn around and send it back and then try to get a new one. But if I was you guys and you guys bought one, and if you've got that that action, you know, that up and down motion, I wouldn't hesitate but to send it back. Because it's a problem, and, you know, nobody should have it. I don't know what they would actually say about it, you know, as far as, you know. Other than that, I mean, it's a pretty good knife. You can't jar it. Can't really jar it open. The action overall, like I said, is pretty good. The detent is good. You can feel the detent. It's got a really nice lockup. You know, all the action is pretty nice. I mean, like I said, other than the fact that, you know, it has that up and down motion, the knife is very nice. Like I said, if I could get it through Custom Knife Factory, I would love to see exactly how they do it. How they do it may not be a lot different, obviously. I mean, the size-wise and design-wise will be, obviously, Gavko knives design. There's not going to be much of a change, but sometimes their coating on Knife Factory is a little bit different. This is not super slick. I mean, it's slick, but not super slippery. But you will see a lot of times with Custom Knife Factory, their knives tend to have a little more of a nice, kind of a grippier texture, almost like a coating texture, and feels really good in hand. But anyhow, I mean, the knife, the Ergos are pretty nice. It's got that nice forward chorl. You know, you can actually choke up really good on this knife. Feels pretty good. It's a little thin on the handle. I'm not a real thin handled type guy personally. I mean, I usually like a little bit more meat. I have long fingers, so my fingers kind of overlap a knife that's kind of small like that, you know, compared to, you know, like the PM2. Boy, I'm just not landing any flips today. You know, the PM2, this feels really good in my hands. You know, it fills up my hands nicely. It feels good. You don't worry about necessarily it slipping out of your hands. It just feels real good. But, you know, not every knife is going to have that. But overall, the design-wise, I love this knife. Would love to get it from Custom Knife Factory for sure. I think they did a pretty good job with this knife overall. I mean, S35VN, you know, not bad. Up and down play action, you know, that kind of, it's just, you know, it's a little unacceptable these days for a knife that's $200. Actually, technically speaking, from their website, I think it was like $280 when I bought it. It was $280 from them. So yeah, that's a hefty price tag to have a knife that shows up with a little bit of up and down motion. You should not get that from really too many knives, honestly. I mean, if you know, and that's not usually something that's a one knife issue, you know, because this one side is going to come in batches. So, you know, more than likely, well, all the sides that came out of this batch are probably going to have that same exact issue where it is just not locking up. You know, maybe it just doesn't have quite enough spring. I mean, it doesn't matter how hard you flip it or anything, because, you know, I can really flip it really hard and it's still there. So it's not, you know, but you can lock it up right there, you know. I mean, you put a little bit of pressure on there and cause her to lock up more. But it's definitely there, you know. So that's a buyer beware kind of situation, you know. I mean, you never know what you're going to get. And any knife company can be liable of it. You know, it can happen. I'm not trying to necessarily pressure, you know. I mean, these guys here, I mean, Artisan is, you know, they put out a lot of knives, you know, and you look at a lot of the big reviewers and they're getting a lot of their knives right now through a pass around group directly from the manufacturer. And you know, remarkably, they're always good reviews. But anyway, that is it for today, guys. If you like the vid content, and make sure you like and subscribe. We'll always have more coming along. Honest opinions, honest reviews, good or bad. They're, you know, we're going to look at them here. I buy my knives. I don't get them for free. So, you know, we'll take that where it goes. But, you know, have a great day, guys. We'll see you on the next one.